Hey everyone, welcome back to Swift Fundamentals. Today we're diving into loops in Swift, which are essential for repeating tasks efficiently. We'll cover the for, while, and repeat while loops, and we'll even build a loop to calculate the factorial of a number. Let's dive on in. So to start, I'm actually going to open up a new playground, but if you want to use any of these, kind of concepts in your app, feel free to do so. I just like to use the playground as a space to kind of experiment. I'm going to go ahead and call this loops playground. I'm also just going to open up the console in the bottom right so we can kind of see any of our results. So let's go ahead and actually start off with the for in loop, which is the most commonly used loop within Swift, especially for working with collections like arrays and ranges. So let's go ahead and just delete the kind of pre-made content we have here. And we're going to say for number in 1.5 print number. Go ahead and run our playground here. I'm going to change mine to also be automatically run. And you'll see that in our console here at the bottom, again, you might just need to open it. In the bottom right here, kind of looks like this square. You can kind of see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that are repeating. So in the for loop, it's going to print each number in the range, and the number variable represents each value in the range as the loop progresses. All right, how about we wanted to use a for loop for an array here? So I'm actually just going to delete this and I'm going to create an array. So I'll say let fruits equal, let's go ahead and add some. So I'll say like apple, banana. When you're separating elements in an array, you'll just put the element and then add a comma. And we'll add one more, maybe cherry here. All right, and then let's create a for fruit in fruits. You can even see when we were kind of creating this, it was already suggesting what we might be doing. And let's go ahead and print, I'll say I love, and then we'll use interpolation. So we'll do a / bracket, and we'll print the fruit there. And so that's going to essentially allow us to loop over an array. So the for in will access each element in order. So I love apple, I love banana, I love cherry. We can also actually use enumerated. So here we have fruits dot enumerated as well. We get both the index and the item. So this is really great when you're needing to know the position of each item in the array. So now we can see I love offset 0, element apple. In case you didn't know, every single element in the array has that kind of number associated with it. Your first element in the array actually is represented by 0, then 1, 2, 3, 4, so on and so forth. Next, let's take a look at the while loop. So this is going to be a loop that keeps running as long as a specific condition is true, making it ideal when you don't know the exact number of repetitions in advance. So let's go ahead and create a new variable here, and we'll call it count. And let's set that to be 1. We'll create a while loop by just typing out while. And we'll reference count. And we'll say is less than or equal to 5. Add our brace here and add some code. Print count is interplay count. And we're also going to make sure that our count plus equals 1, as it's very important when you're using while loops to make sure that you do your best to not reach infinity. If you have an infinitely repeating loop in your program, it will cause errors, it will cause crashes. So just make sure that you always have a way eventually to make sure that that while loop condition will eventually end. But in this example, the loop runs as long as the count is less than or equal to 5, and we increase the count by 1 and to eventually end the loop. We can also look at the conditional while loop here. So what we can do is we can create a while loop to simulate rolling a die. Let's go ahead and create a variable here. We'll call it roll. Let's set it to be 0. We'll say while roll is not equal to 6. So we use the exclamation point there for the opposite. Roll equals int dot random. And we can add a range. So we'll say in at the range, so the die has the range from 1 to 6. We're going to add 3 dots and a 6 here. And we'll go ahead and print rolled a, interpolate our roll. Let's go see what happens here. If we go ahead and press play, we can see that we're going to roll the die. It's going to roll a few times until it reaches 6. If we play the program again, we'll get a completely random set of numbers until eventually it rolls 6. So that time 2, 1, 2, 5, 6, right? Oh, that time we rolled a 6 first, so it only went to one number. You can play around with this and kind of have some fun with it. But since we don't know how many rolls it'll take, a while loop is going to be perfect for this to kind of roll until that condition is met. We also have the repeat while loop, which is similar to while, but it will always execute the code block at least once before checking the condition. So this is really useful when you need the action to run before the condition is checked. So let's go ahead and create a variable here, and we'll call it counter. That will be set to 1. Then we'll use the repeat. We'll add a brace here. We'll then print counter is interpolate counter plus equals 1. And then now here is where we're going to say while counter is greater or less than or equal to 5. Oh, sorry, I just need to include a space after the plus equals. So the repeat while loop here guarantees that the code block runs at least once, even if the condition is false initially. So if we check this to maybe 6, we'll see that it still runs at least once. We can use the repeat while loop to also simulate flipping a coin until we get heads. So let's go ahead and create a new variable here called flip, have it equal tails, say repeat. We'll add our brace here and a little bit of space. Flip equals bool, which represents true or false, dot random. Okay, then we're going to use our ternary operator to basically write like this if-else statement really shortly. So if heads, that's right, and we'll use our colon here to basically represent else, tails. All right, let's go ahead and then print flipped / we'll interpolate our flip here to say what it landed on. So it's going to flip either to heads or tails. And then we're going to go ahead and say while flip does not equal heads. Make sure that they are the exact same here. And we can go ahead and play around with our coin flipping app. So in this example, we keep flipping until we get heads. The loop runs once to start and then checks the condition to continue. So you can see here, we flipped a lot of tails in a row, flipped heads right off the bat there, another heads immediately. Ooh, quite a lot of tails. I'm trying to get one where it's like a million tails in a row and then finally heads. But essentially, we're going to flip until we get heads. But while we have that repeat and then the while, it's going to always at least run once to check to see if the condition is true. All right, now let's create a practical example calculating the factorial of a number using a for in loop. The factorial of a number is the product of all positive integers up to that number. Go ahead and start from scratch here, and we'll create a function, and we'll call it factorial. And we'll say of number, which is going to be an integer, and we're going to also then return an integer value. Let's go ahead and create our brace here. And we'll say var result equals 1. Then we're going to add our for here. For I in 1 dot number. So it's going to have a range from 1 all the way to the number that's being passed to it. We're then going to take our result. We're going to times equal I. So it's going to be that index there, that I in, right? It's also referred to as an index. Cool, let's go ahead and now return our result. And then we can add a print statement here to see our work. Say print factorial of number is factorial of number. And of course, we need to add what that number is. So let's create a let statement here. We'll say number equals, let's try 5 for now. So we'll see the result in the print statement. The factorial of 5 is 120. So here the factorial function takes a number and multiplies all integers from 1 up to that number. For example, 5 factorial is 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, which will then equal 120. If we change this to be 10, we get the result of, oh my god, that's a huge number. if we did 2, we'll probably get the result of 2, right? And so we can kind of see, we can use this in order to kind of use that for loop to provide us with all of those numbers, which are going to multiply together to give us our factorial. And that's it for today's lesson on loops in Swift. We covered the for, in, while, and repeat while loops and practiced iterating over arrays, generating random values, and even calculating factorials. Loops are an essential part of programming, and mastering them will help you write more efficient, powerful code. Thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this tutorial, please like and subscribe for more Swift content. And until next time, dream big and code bigger. Take care, everyone.